September 23rd, 8:50 a.m. District Court. Defendant, lobby, number 3. So the one thing we found out yesterday is that Sorin was there at the crime scene. I only hope I can get some testimony from him that'll get to the heart of the matter. Mr. Wright. Good morning, Ellen. Look, I'm afraid you might not like the result of today's trial. Nevertheless, don't tell me you're still thinking of going that route. Sorin is innocent. You can't be found guilty. Take me instead. Ellen, please. Try to get a hold of yourself. I believe in Sorin with all my heart. So how dare you doubt him? Regardless of which one of them is found guilty today, it's gonna be devastating for Ellen, isn't it? We'll just have to do everything we can. That's the best we can do, you know? But you're always about to begin, Mr. Wright. Alright, let's go, Maya. Yeah. September 23rd, 9 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 6.
Court is back in session for the trial of Ellen Wyatt.
The defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
Let's see now, where were we?
In yesterday's session, we found out about the Sprocket family's conspiracy to cover up the murder of Sorin of Gloomsbury with a second reception. Taking advantage of our collective shock, the defense, as usual, made a nonsensical claim. Namely, that there was a third person present who struck the victim.
Objection!
Hey, don't try to make it sound like I made it all up. The defendant herself made a statement about the existence of a third person, and further investigation has only proven her statement to be true.
Did I presume the defense intends to focus on proving the identity of this third person? Is that all right with you, Mr. Edgeworth?
Indeed, Your Honor. In fact, I predict that the defense will, most likely, attempt to name Mr. Sorin Sprocket as the true culprit. How did you... The driver during the accident that killed Mrs. Sprocket's sister was the victim. Therefore, Mrs. Sprocket had a motive to murder Mr. Gloomsbury. That's what you plan to assert, is it not, Mr. Wright? Am I that transparent? Come now, Mr. Wright. Did you really think the police wouldn't uncover this information? Congrats on getting it in one, Mr. Wright, Mr. Edgeworth. But... You're wrong. Sorin didn't do it. He's innocent. Miss Wyatt, please. He's innocent, I tell you. What is this, Mr. Wright? I thought your claim about the existence of a third person came from the defendant. It did. It's just a minor hiccup.
Did you not discuss your strategy for today with the defendant, Mr. Wright?
Starting off on the wrong foot again is seriously cutting into my lifespan. It would appear that the defense is in disarray. Therefore, the best way to clear things up is to ask Mr. Sprocket himself what happened. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to call Sorin Sprocket to the stand. What?
Very well. Bailiff, please bring in Mr. Sprocket to the witness stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation.
Oh!
There's something written on this paper airplane. Let's see. Sorin Sprocket, Managing Director of Sprocket Aviation. Mrs. Sprocket, please give your answers in words, not paper airplanes.
Now then, Mrs. Sprocket, please tell that doubting lawyer there what really happened at the time of the crime. Well, Mrs. Sprocket? Mr. Sprocket. Alright. You want me to talk about what happened when the crime occurred? In other words, after the first wedding reception. When Ellen and I were in the reception hall, right? Not even the power of the court can stop him from marching to the beat of his own drum. Yeah, man. Whatever, just start talking, please. I was stabbed by Dumas in the reception hall, and I collapsed to the floor. The next thing I saw was Ellen and Dumas on the Vista deck. I knew Ellen was in danger, so I headed for the Vista deck. But when I got there, Dumas was already... I don't want to believe it, but it must have been Ellen. Nothing else makes sense. Wait just a minute here. You actually think Miss White killed the victim? That's right. Dumas was killed by Ellen. This is unbelievable. How can you suspect your bride, the woman you love?
Objection!
Huh. The truth can be cruel. Miss White, you must be very upset. Is there anything you wish to say? No, I can't believe this. Sorin, I thought that at least you would believe in me. The best way now to show your love for your groom is to admit your guilt and try to atone. Sorin.
Hold it!
Mr. Edgeworth, I haven't even cross-examined the witness yet. And quit picking on the clearly distraught. Yeah, that's not so cool, Mr. Edgeworth. Huh. The court is where we seek the truth, and the truth is unyielding, even to the truly pitiful.
Miss Edgeworth, I find it distasteful to make a lady cry. That too, Your Honor.
So what are you gonna do, Nick? If the third person Ellen saw on the Visa deck was Sorin, then we have to prove Sorin was there at the time of the murder. I don't see any obvious inconsistencies in his testimony, but we have to push forward. I was stabbed by Dumas in the reception hall, and I collapsed to the floor.
Hold it!
Please tell me everything you can about when you got stabbed. After the reception, Ellen and I were enjoying a moment alone in the reception hall. Then Dumas appeared and stabbed me. He grabbed Ellen and the timekeeper and left the reception hall. Did Mr. Gloomsbury say anything at that time? I don't remember. After I was stabbed, I was immobilized by the pain. I see. The next thing I saw was Ellen and Dumas on the Visa deck.
Hold it!
The Visa deck, huh? But it was nighttime then. Could you really see them in the darkness? The moon was out, so I could see them clearly. From the looks of it, Dumas was trying to push Ellen and the timekeeper off the side. So you saw the defendant about to be thrown off the airship, you say? That's right. In such a desperate situation, it would only be natural for her to fight for her life. And the murder weapon was right there within her grasp. This isn't going well at all. I've got to do something fast. I knew Ellen was in danger, so I headed for the Visa deck.
Hold it!
I understand that your bride was in danger, but were you really able to move with a stab wound in the gut? I was desperately trying to push the pain out of my mind. I see. So adrenaline kicked in and gave you strength. Is that right? I don't see much of anything in this statement I can refute. That's right. I almost passed out several times as I made my way to the Visa deck. But when I got there, Dumas was already...
Hold it!
Are you absolutely sure, Mrs. Sprocket, that by the time you got to the Visa deck, the murder had already been committed? Yes. But the Visa deck is just on the other side of the glass windows in the reception hall. Shouldn't you have been able to get there right away?
Objection!
Mr. Wright, have you investigated nothing? The only way to the Visa deck is to go to the hold and take the left. No matter how much one here is, it would take at least 10 minutes. Well, that's unhelpful. Sorin had to have gotten there before the murder, or my claim won't stand. Do you have any ideas for me, Maya? It's
It's definitely easier to prove that someone did go to the hole than not. I mean, you can't leave anything if you don't go someplace, right? Can't leave anything. Wait a minute, I think Maya's onto something here. The lack of a certain something actually proved that Sorin didn't go to the hold.
What's the matter? Are you stumped already?
No, I'm far from stumped, Mr. Edgeworth. I know for a fact that Mr. Sprocket didn't go to the hold.
You and your paper-thin bluffs. Mr. Sprocket's bloodstone on the left proves he went through the hold. So what possible proof could you have that he did not, in fact, go through there?
You want proof? You got it. You can do this, Phoenix. There's got to be proof that Sorin didn't go through the hold.
Well, Mr. Wright?
This proves that Mr. Sprocket didn't go through the hold. Oh. Take that! As anyone can see from the hold entry record, there's absolutely no mention of Sorin Sprocket entering the hold. The defense asserts that Mr. Sprocket used a different route to get to the Visa deck.
You can assert all you want, Mr. Wright, but can you actually prove another route exists?
Can I prove the existence of another route to the Visa deck, you ask? I can prove it. Even if it's just a bluff, I have to present something. Anything that could prove the existence of a faster route to the Visa deck.
Very well then, Mr. Wright. Show us how Mr. Sprocket got to the Visa deck.
Mrs. Sprocket made for the Visa deck through here. He broke the window.
Mr. Wright, how could anyone get to the Visa deck through there?
What if he just kind of wiggled his way through here?
I'm afraid that's physically impossible, defense. Now stop trying to wiggle your way out of a reasonable explanation.
Sorry, Your Honor. Please let me try again.
Oh, I think okay, hold on. Mrs. Sprocket made for the Visa deck through here. Was he inside the peggable?
Take that! Mr. Wright, how could anyone get to the Visa deck from there? You stupid. Mr. Wright, what's 9 plus 10? You stupid.
Oh, the emergency exit.
Take that!
To save his bride from danger, Mr. Sprocket opened the escape hatch and made his way along the outside wall to the Visa deck. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket? Man, that's some serious adrenaline rush right there.
That would certainly be a much faster route to the Visa deck.
Sigh. I am disappointed, Mr. Wright. Is that really the best you could muster? That escape hatch is not meant to be used to get from the reception hall to the Visa deck. One slip and that's all it would take for Mrs. Sprocket to plunge to his death.
I have to agree that Vince's claim is really stretching it.
Hold it! I understand how it sounds, Your Honor. But at this point, it's too early to definitively say that he didn't go that way.
So that's what you're going with then, I take it?
Of course, Your Honor.
This is real life, Mr. Wright. Not some cinematic drivel or comic book. Do you have some sort of logical explanation to share that would convince us of your claim?
I do. Are you sure, Nick? Kind of. Actually, I have nothing. So I'll just have to wing it somehow.
On what do you base your theory that Mr. Sprocket made his way along the outside?
My theory that he was able to go along the outside wall despite the danger is based on the power of love. To save the bride he loves, the groom risked his life and rushed to her side. Mr. Sprocket was able to make it to the Visa deck despite the danger, because of the power of love.
The power of love? That love is a sort of strength that can help one overcome any obstacle. I think I can relate, thanks to my own long, happy marriage.
Wow, he actually seems to be buying it.
Objection!
The power of love, you say? That kind of illogical argument is hardly viable in a court of law. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Edgeworth. You should never underestimate the power of love. You'll understand one day when you get...
Which I won't. I didn't even finish my sentence. Exactly what is so wrong with wishing to remain unwed? Way to send him off, Your Honor. Never mind all this unscientific nonsense. Are you aware, Mr. Wright, that at the time of the crime, there was a huge propeller turning at full speed between the hatch and the visa deck? Even if a person were to go outside through the hatch, whee, they'd be blown away in an instant. Ah! Huh. Where does your power of love get you now, Mr. Wright?
A huge spinning propeller, you say? In that case, no amount of love can save you there.
I should have known. Nick, you can't make that kind of face in front of your client. Worst of times are when lawyers have to force the biggest smiles. Right? Right! I feel like I just saw Mia looking out at me through Maya's eyes. What's wrong, Nick? Why are you gaping at me like a giant sunfish? Thank you, Maya. You just helped me remember something really important. There it is. That's that fearless smile I was looking for. Now give us a mind-blowing theory, just like you always do. I have to turn my thinking around. Instead of wondering how Sorin could have moved past that huge propeller, I have to think about what would have made it possible for him to do so.
Your Honor, Mr. Wright only makes that ridiculous face when his back is pressed against the wall. Therefore, please do hurry and give your ruling before... Mr. Edgeworth, it's still far too early to discount my theory. What are you talking about? The airship's large spinning propellers have already shredded it to pieces. But if we think a little more outside the box, I'm sure we can find a way he could have made it. Stop trying to solve Mr. Wright, and show us how it could have been even remotely possible at all, if at all.
I must agree with Mr. Edgeworth.
Very well, Your Honor.
There must have been a way, some way that Sorin could have moved along the wall in spite of the propeller.
Now then, Mr. Wright, what specifically would have made it possible?
This is how it would have been possible for Mr. Sprocket to get to the visa deck. What allowed Mr. Sprocket to go along the outside wall in spite of the propellers is the location of the flying chapel at the time of the crime.
The location of the flying chapel? But wasn't it flying high in the sky?
No, Your Honor, I'm afraid it wasn't.
What? Then where was it?
At the time of the murder, the airship wasn't flying through the sky, but more to the ground.
What?
And if the airship wasn't flying, then that means no wind in it. The propellers weren't turning. In which case, Mr. Sprocket could have gotten to the visa deck along the outside wall. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket? I don't remember. No, he stabbed himself with his pencil. That's gonna leave a mark.
Objection!
And some lead poisoning. Even if the propellers weren't turning, it would have been far too risky to go that way. Ah, but Mr. Edgeworth, you're forgetting about the power of love.
Yes, the amazing power of love. Not this again?
Very well, for the sake of argument, let's assume this so-called power of love made it possible for Mrs. Sprocket to move along the outside wall of the airship. Can you prove that the airship was tied to the ground as you claim, Mr. Wright? Well, I don't have any evidence that proves where the airship was at the time. You can prove it, can't you? Oh yeah, can you think of anything we can use to prove it?
Can't say I can. Oh, wait. Didn't somebody see something outside a window at the time of the crime? I think I remember someone saying as much.
Do I have a piece of evidence that shows what was outside the airship? Well, what are you waiting for? This piece of evidence shows what was outside the airship at the time of the crime.
Take that!
This piece of evidence shows what was outside the airship at the time of the murder. What kind of lousy drawing is that?
It's a drawing made by Larry Butts.
Huh. And what can you prove with that poor attempt at artistry?
Larry made this drawing before he switched the lanterns. So it must have been right around when the murder was being committed. Now, if I could direct the court's attention here...
Is it a pterodactyl? Does that mean that the airship actually went back in time to the Cretaceous period?
Objection!
We've already proven that time travel is nothing more than a gimmick, did we not?
We did, and I have no intention of bringing up that argument again. But this drawing shows us an important piece of information. It shows us that the airship was actually moored on the ground.
And what makes you so sure?
That's easy. All you have to do is consider who made this drawing.
Larry.
That's right. It was Mr. Butts, and we both know what he's like. He must have seen something else and mistaken it for a pterodactyl.
I can't argue with you there.
Hey, what just don't go second here? What kind of word did you go say before? I saw it with my own eyes. A pterodactyl went flew right by the window, I tell you. I have the sharp eyes of artists, don't you believe me?
No.
Nope.
So fancy you guys are. What about the judge? You believe me? Right, Your Honor?
In your dreams, I'm afraid you need to leave this courtroom. Bailiff, if you would.
Come on, buddy, let's go.
Why does anybody believe me?
Don't take it personally, Larry. I know you're just being, well, you.
Ahem. Now then, so you're saying that what Mr. Butts really saw bears some relation to what was outside the airship at the time of the murder?
Yes, Your Honor. At least, I think it does. What this pterodactyl really is will prove the airship was anchored at the morning dock. But better, anyway. If it doesn't, my whole argument is a bust.
If you're that confident about it, then please go in and tell us what it really was.
Yes, Your Honor. Think, Phoenix. What could that pterodactyl... Fuck.
Take that!
What's this? Please take a good look at the sign.
At the sign? It appears to have been broken and then repaired. But what does the sign have to do with the pterodactyl?
Please focus on this part of the sign.
The part that broke off and got reattached? What about it?
How about if we turn it like this?
Oh, that shape! It's the pterodactyl of the drawing!
What Mr. Butts actually saw was this chunk as it was being blown through the air by wind.
What?
On the day of the murder, there were some heavy winds in the area of the mooring dock, but it's hard to imagine that this sign would make it up as high as an airship would fly. That means the flying chapel must have been anchored at the mooring dock that night. Isn't that right, Mr. Sprocket?
Objection!
That's more than enough of this power of love nonsense, you pop culture junkie. Present all the proof you want, but your argument is based far too much on conjecture. Why don't we return to reality now?
What do you mean, too much conjecture?
Even if the airship wasn't flying, that alone doesn't prove the witness went along the wall.
True. Even now, it's no more than a possibility.
Then how do you propose Mr. Sprocket got to the Vista deck, Mr. Edgeworth?
I noticed something as I went over the evidence. Please take a look at this hold entry record.
What about it? I don't see Mr. Sprocket listed on here anywhere.
Don't you remember? In yesterday's session, we had a very similar kind of argument.
Did we?
Honestly, Mr. Knight, are you going to see now already? We talked about Larry Butts using the defendant's keycard to enter the hold. Oh, we did talk about that, didn't we? In other words, even if a person's name isn't on the entry record, it's still possible for that person to have entered by using someone else's card. Mrs. Sprocket, you entered the hold with Mr. Nietzsche today, didn't you?
I did. What? Why did he tell us that in the first place? Pierce is indispensable. I didn't want to mention him unnecessarily and risk having him wrongly accused. I couldn't do without him.
Mrs. Sprocket, I ask that you testify in greater detail about your movements that night.
Huh, okay. So all of that was a lie? Truth is, I went to the visa deck with Pierce. That's why my name doesn't appear on the hold entry record. I was badly injured from being stabbed, but I was frantic. By the time we reached the scene, it was all over.
Well, this doesn't help me one bit. Mrs. Sprocket, you've concealed information from us time and time again. Who do you think you are, treating this court of law with such irreverence? That being said, I do appreciate the testimony you gave just now. Thanks to you, we now know why your name doesn't appear on the entry record. Now there are no more inconsistencies in the witness's testimony.
That's Mr. Edgeworth for you. He never leaves it loose and dangling. You okay, Nick? I wouldn't exactly call this situation okay. Somehow I'll have to coax the information we need for an opening out of him. If I even can, that is. The truth is, I went to the visa deck with Pierce.
Hold it!
You didn't mention this because you didn't want Mr. Nietzsche to fall under suspicion. Is that because he has something to hide? I just didn't want the police to take up his time with all their questions, that's all. Neither the company nor the household would function smoothly without him. I see. Wow, it sounds like Pierce is absolutely indispensable to the Sprockets. Anyway, getting back to your statement, when did you meet up with Mr. Nietzsche? We met up on my way to the visa deck. I think Pierce and some of my relatives were on another floor, but Pierce heard the commotion and came running to my aid. You could hear the pandemonium all the way from another floor.
Mr. Wright, would you like the current statement added to the witness's testimony?
Sure, why not? Yes, please, Your Honor.
Very well.
Pierce heard the commotion, and he came running.
Hold it!
Did Mr. Nietzsche come along? I believe some of his subordinates were with him, but I don't remember exactly how many. You may say there were others, but seeing how they pulled that second reception off, I can't completely trust anything he has to say either. I see. So you, Mr. Nietzsche, and a few others headed to the visa deck, is that right? That's right. That's why my name doesn't appear on the hold entry record.
Hold it!
Your name doesn't appear on the hold entry record because you were entered with Mr. Nietzsche using his keycard. That's right. So I guess the hold entry record doesn't matter as much as we thought. Now that Sorin's saying he was with Pierce and a few others, it's pretty tough to refute that statement.
What's the matter, Mr. Wright? Catch got your tongue? Did you finally realize there's no point in continuing this trial any longer?
Of course not. I'll wipe the smug look off your face later tonight. Mrs. Sprocket, please continue with your testimony. I was badly injured from being stabbed, but I was frantic.
Hold it!
Speaking of your injury, how are you doing now? The knife wound is deep. The knife wound is deep and continues to throb with pain. Fortunately, my internal organs were spared. but one wrong move would have spelled the end for me there. Even so, I've seen you up and about all over the place since the incident. I'm only following my doctor's orders to perform some daily light exercises.
Mr. Wright, would you like Mr. Sprocket's statement about his condition added to his testimony? Not that it appears especially relevant to me.
Should I have him added to its testimony? Sure. The more the merrier. Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to have it added to his testimony.
I see. Very well.
The knife wound is quite deep and continues to throb with pain.
Hold it!
Your injury was really that deep. Luckily, it missed my internal organs, otherwise I wouldn't be alive right now.
According to his doctor, his injury will take about 3 weeks to heal. There's no way someone with that kind of injury could have gone along the outside walls.
But he might have been able to. He might have been able to with the burst of adrenaline brought on by the pain.
Huh. Adrenaline. Is that your answer for everything? In a court of law, the only thing that matters is evidence, not rampant speculation.
At least admit it's scientific rampant speculation. May I continue?
Yes, of course.
But by the time we reached the scene, it was all over.
Hold it!
So you still insist that you reached the visitor deck after the murder had occurred? Is that correct? Yes, that's right. And it must have killed him. There's no other explanation. I guess whether Pierce was with Sorin or not doesn't change the outcome. I guess not. In fact, more witnesses actually makes it worse for us. So, another cover-up, huh? That Sorin has too many secrets. I bet he's still hiding some other things, too. That's definitely a possibility. But in a situation like this, what we have to do is go back to the basics. You mean go over the testimony and check for any lies or inconsistencies? You got it. Alright, Nick. Let's go for it. Oh, did you say knife wound? Knife wound. That's not right.
Objection!
Mr. Sprocket, you just said your injury is a knife wound, didn't you? But the weapon you were stabbed with was this candelabra. A fact I know you're quite aware of. Very well. This is what I heard directly from Master Sword himself. As you surmised, Master Sword was stabbed by Gloomsbury on the day of the murder. It happened after the first wedding reception. The happy couple was in the reception hall when suddenly Gloomsbury appeared. He attacked Miss Ellen and tried to take her away. Master Sorin went to stop him and found himself in a struggle with Gloomsbury. That is when Master Sorin was stabbed with the candelabra, he said.
Objection!
It must have been a simple memory slip that made him misspeak. It happens to everyone. It has nothing to do with the case. You must be pretty desperate to point out something so minute. Grr. I have to agree, Mr. Wright. You hardly need to make such a big deal over such a small mistake.
But I contend that it's an important inconsistency. Besides, I couldn't find anything else. This is the only thing I have to go after.
Then I say it's not important. Now let's not waste any more time on this matter. I agree. Everybody has a little memory lapse every now and then.
Hold it!
But, Your Honor, please let me explain.
But can you? Can you really explain to this court what makes this slip so important?
Yes, I can, Your Honor. After all, it was Sorin himself who told Pierce that he had been stabbed by a candelabra. This is more than a simple memory slip. There has to be some kind of reason for it.
Well, Mr. Wright, please explain why the witness's slip of the tongue is so important.
The point to focus on here is why the witness would mistake the weapon used to stab him. Think carefully, Phoenix. This could very well change the course of the trial.
I see. So why did the witness make that mistake, Mr. Wright?
Mr. Sprocket identified the wrong weapon used against him because... he doesn't remember the incident, let alone the weapon he used against him. Not only that, but I believe Mr. Sprocket has some sort of memory disorder. Therefore, the defense contends that Mr. Sprocket's testimony thus far is invalid.
Objection!
Just because you can't find a flaw in his testimony, you want to throw it all out? Your baseless claim is nothing but pure slander over the witness's character.
Mr. Edgeworth is correct, Mr. Wright. Can you explain your grounds for making this claim?
Of course, Your Honor. Think of what Sorin has said, how he's behaved. That's where I'll find a clue.
Very well, let's hear your argument then.
My grounds for claiming that Mr. Sprocket has a memory disorder is... the notebook he always has with him. I saw daily events and information about the people around him recorded in it.
Like a diary, perhaps?
No, Your Honor. It's much too detailed to be an ordinary diary. It's more on the order of a database, really.
A database, you say?
That's right. For some reason, Mr. Sprocket is apparently unable to retain memories. That's why he writes every little detail of his life down in his notebook.
Objection!
How could you possibly know that for sure? He might just be an extremely compulsive person.
I thought so too myself at first. To be honest, we accidentally got a stain on that notebook yesterday. You mean you got a stain on it? Hey, you're the one who tried to grab it out of my...
Objection!
Never mind whose fault it was, just get to the point already.
Right, sorry. Mrs. Sprocket. The page Miss Fate got a stain on yesterday. That's the page with the details of your stabbing on it, isn't it? No, I only write in this notebook because I'm very compulsive. Now drop the subject already. Sorry, but I'm not convinced. I noticed an odd fact about your notebook, Mrs. Sprocket. On the earlier pages, you used to write down invention ideas, but after a certain date, you started writing down a lot more, and in much more detail. I believe your memory disorder stems from what happened on that date.
Something so monumental it caused a memory disorder, Mr. Wright?
You don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but I do know what I'm talking about. And this is the proof. This is the thing that caused Mr. Sprocket's memory disorder.
Take that!
You were involved in this car accident too, weren't you, Mrs. Sprocket? And the shock of losing your beloved older sister is what caused you to develop your memory disorder.
Is this true, Mrs. Sprocket?
Well, is it?
Mrs. Sprocket! It's true. That accident did something to my mind. What? Ever since that day, every time I go to sleep, I lose my memories. And when I wake up, the most recent thing I can remember is the day I lost my sister. It's as if I'm constantly going back in time.
What? That's truly tragic.
An inconsolable time traveler who goes back in time whenever he goes to sleep.
Besides, time travelers do exist, you know, but you wouldn't understand. So that's what Sorin meant. He was talking about himself. The reactions of the people around me each time I awoke made me aware of my condition. That's why I decided to write everything down in my notebook, so I could move forward. So the only memories we have since that day are the ones written in that notebook. That's right. And since the page about your stabbing got stained, you couldn't read from it, could you?
There's just one more thing I'd like you to clarify for me, Mr. Sprocket.
Exactly what are your feelings toward the victim?
Mr. Sprocket's feeling towards Tobias Gloomsbury?
That's right, Your Honor. The witness said that every time he wakes up from sleep, his mind goes back to the day his sister died.
Mr. Wright, you can't mean...
Mr. Sprocket? Your pent-up feelings of anger and resentment towards Mr. Gloomsbury for the accident were renewed each and every time you woke, were they not? But you couldn't take it anymore, so you turned to murder. Isn't that right?
What? Mr. Wright, are you saying that the witness murdered Mr. Gloomsbury for revenge?
Well, Mr. Sprocket? Miss Wyatt? Your Honor, I did it. I killed Mr. Gloomsbury.
No! What?
The power of love. Miss White, what are you trying to do? Don't tell me you still think I'm going that route. Sorin is innocent. He can't be found guilty. Take me instead. Ellen, please. Try to get a hold of yourself.
I guess she really meant it.
My Sorin didn't do anything wrong. I'm the one who should be convicted.
Are we to decide that you're confessing your guilt?
No. No, just wait 1 minute here. Ellen, why would you cover for me? After I testified that I thought you must have killed him. I'll admit, I couldn't believe my ears at first. But all I want is for you to be happy. Your happiness is my happiness, Sorin. But without my notebook, I'd even forget those feelings of yours by tomorrow. Knowing that, do you still feel this way? You've loved me all this time, the same way you did before the accident. That's how I know that you're the same person I've always loved. No disorder can change that. Ellen, Your Honor, there are 2 things I'd like to correct.
2 corrections? What are they?
First of all, I want to withdraw one of my statements. That's right. Dumas was killed by Ellen. Without memories to rely on, I took the police completely at their word.
You can't be serious!
So that means Sorin never really doubted Ellen in the first place, did he, Nick? Ellen really does love Sorin with all her heart, but in order to save her, I'll still have to go after Sorin. I hope you can forgive me, Ellen.
And what is your other correction, Mrs. Sprocket?
The truth is, I never felt anger or resentment towards Dumas about my sister. What? Why not? That's because the one who caused the car accident was me. What?
Order in the court! Please continue, Mrs. Sprocket.
I'm the one who killed my sister. To protect my career and my future, my father made Dumas take the blame, in exchange for money and the position of lead servant. So you see, Dumas must have had a grudge against me, not the other way around. And he must have attacked Ellen to get his revenge on me. Are you sure about all of this, Mr. Sprocket? Very sure. It's all been written down in detail in my notebook.
That notebook is important evidence supplying background to this case. I must insist you submit it as evidence.
The lawyer said I had turned to murder, but that's just not true. However, it is true that my older sister and Dumas are both dead because of me and my negligence.
I just glanced through Mrs. Sprocket's notebook. I wasn't able to read the part about when he was stabbed due to the bloodstain. What's written here about his sister's car accident is exactly as he stated.
Your Honor, as long as it matches what's written in that notebook, can we still take the witness's testimony as valid, in spite of his memory disorder?
Yes, I believe we can.
I understand now that the witness's memory isn't as right. But what if Mr. Sprocket himself wrote in this notebook is true? Then that means by the time Mrs. Sprocket's party reached the scene, the victim had already been killed. Edgeworth's right. I'm still in the same bind as before. But should I really simply accept the contents of that notebook as a substitute for Sorin's memory?
Well, Mr. Wright, what do you think? Would you accept Mrs. Sprocket's notebook as an official representation of his memories?
Will I accept Mrs. Sprocket's notebook as an official representation of his memories? Wait a minute, Your Honor. The defense requests a chance to examine the notebook to see if it's trustworthy.
Very well, but be quick about it.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, how should we examine it? Well, we should look at it from all different angles to see if there's anything suspicious. There's no point if I don't look at what's inside. I have to open it. With your permission, Sorin. Here I go. Yikes. Oh, it's just the page my got all stained. But I guess it's not going to be very helpful at this moment. I'll keep going. This is the last page where there's a writing. Something about this page doesn't sit right with me. I better take a closer look. A page has been torn out, and it looks like there was something written on it. Looks like a page has been torn out here. Mrs. Sprocket, do you know what was written on it? Oh, that? I often tear out a page when I write somebody a note. I probably wrote something down for somebody, tore it out, and gave it to them. Oh, yeah.
That solves that then.
Wait a minute. We can't ignore the possibility that something important was written on that page.
But now that the page has been torn out, how can we determine what was written there?
Well, let's see. To find out what was written in the notebook, we should go back in time. Oh. I really thought that there was going to be a possibility. I know. We should hold the notebook up to the light.
I don't see a thing. What are you flailing about over there for, Mr. Wright?
No, just a minute, Your Honor. I just need a little more time to...
Mr. Wright, this court does not accept answers in the form of pantomime. I think the judge misinterpreted my movements.
Let's see. To find out what was written in the notebook, we should... If we use fingerprint powder on the notebook, we might be able to see what was written.
Fingerprint powder? How would that help us find out what was written there?
Well, if the writing left indentations on the blank page behind it, fingerprint powder can make those small indentations visible to the naked eye.
Oh, stop. Fingerprint powder would only sully the notebook further. Mr. Wright, if you use the powder and still don't find anything, then you must accept the notebook as a representation of the witness's memories.
Alright, Your Honor. I understand. If I don't find anything, it's all over anyway. Powder, don't fail me now. I will now use fingerprint powder on the blank page to find out if we can see what was written on the torn out page. Behold, first I'll apply some fingerprint powder to these pages with A. When I've dusted on enough powder, I'll use blow to blow the excess powder away. If something should appear, I should switch to analyze mode. Point to what came up, then confirm my choice. I struck and killed Dumas? Huh. What an odd thing to say. It says, I struck and killed Dumas. This is huge. I struck and killed Dumas. That's what was written on the torn out page?
What? It can't be.
I don't believe it. There has to be some kind of mistake. Saul would never, could never... Miss White?
Bailiff, please get the defendant to the infirmary at once. Apparently, the defendant got too worked up. She's resting in the infirmary as we speak. Now then, please continue, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. This notebook is all Mr. Sprocket has to remember things by. With this critical page torn out, not even Mr. Sprocket himself knew the truth of what he'd done. I'm the one who killed Demas, so it wasn't Ellen. Oh, thank goodness. Mr. Sprocket, does this mean you were at the crime scene during the murder after all? I guess I must have been. But Mr. Sprocket, can we really believe what's written in this notebook? Nobody touches the notebook but me. And when I sleep, it's under lock and key. I don't remember writing that I killed Demas, but I guess I must have.
Well, now that we have a confession, I'm afraid I must render my verdict.
Yes, Your Honor. Please give your ruling now, while Ellen is asleep. I want the woman I'll have to be set free as soon as possible. Sorin really does love Ellen after all, doesn't he? Yeah. So this is how it ends. But is that how it really went down? Is there really no way for them to both be happy?
I know we should consider anything written in the notebook to be the truth, but still.
I myself wrote of the crime in my notebook. No further proof is necessary. Sorin himself wrote it in his notebook. Wait a minute.
Very well. I will now give my verdict.
Ellen is about to be found not guilty, and Sorin will be convicted for the crime instead. And yet, am I really ready for the judge to give his ruling? No, not when there's still one more avenue left to explore.
This court finds the defendant, Ellen White.
Your Honor, there's still something that bothers me about that notebook.
Oh, is there?
What are you doing, Mr. Wright? All you have to do is keep quiet. Your client's a free woman.
I know, but I think there might be more to this case than meets the eye. I'm not quite sure yet, but I think there still might be a way. A way for Ellen and Sorin to be happy.
What do you mean by more than meets the eye, Mr. Wright?
I believe the question here, Your Honor, should be, why was the incriminating page torn out in the first place?
Why, to destroy the evidence, I would imagine.
But removing it from the notebook is the same as removing it from Mr. Sprocket's memory, which means he wouldn't have been able to trick the police if he came under suspicion. No, if you wanted to cover up his crime, you would have to remember that he had done it.
Just what are you getting at with this line of inquiry, Mr. Wright?
Yes, please explain it so that we can all understand.
Yes, Your Honor. The page was torn out of the notebook because the incriminating page was torn out by somebody else.
What? Order! Order! Are you claiming a third person interfered with the notebook?
It's not all that surprising if you consider what's happened up until now. After both the car accident and the murder of Sorin of Gloomsbury, there was always a cover-up not far behind. But I had my notebook with me at all times. Did you? Because I remember you were in a panic yesterday because you couldn't find it. That's true.
So who orchestrated this particular cover-up, Mr. Wright?
If we think back over the course of the trial, it's pretty easy to guess. The one who may have tried to tamper with Sorin's memories is...
Take that!
The one who tampered with the notebook in order to manipulate Mr. Sprocket's memory is Piers Nutreday. Piers tried to tamper with my memories. Piers was manipulating me. Case in point, the two receptions that were held to cover up the murder. It was Mr. Nutreday who directed the guests and orchestrated the entire scheme. No, it can't be. Which of memories are mine? Which have been rewritten? When did he start rewriting my memories? Who wrote this? And this? And this? And this? And this? And this? And this?
He literally took off! Ooh, whoa!
Blast off! Look, Nick is coming back down. My memories, Ellen. Mr. Sprocket?
Bailiff, please get Mrs. Sprocket to the infirmary of the Double. Mr. Sprocket has been taken to the infirmary. We don't have to worry about him running away, so let us resume where we left off.
Your Honor, the defense would like to call Pierce Nutriday to the stand.
Objection! We already know he carried out the cover-up to protect the company and Mrs. Sprocket. What more do you want from him?
This time is different. The notebook, or rather, Mrs. Sprocket's memories, have been tampered with. That means the only person who knows the whole truth is now Mr. Nutriday.
Don't tell me. Are you actually trying to drum up a third suspect in order to exonerate the defendant and her groom?
I'm not drumming up anything, nor do I have any grounds to accuse him of anything, yet. All I know is that Mr. Nutriday is the only one who knows the truth, and I think he's still hiding something. Something we don't know about yet.
Huh. No grounds yet, is it? Well, Mr. Edgeworth, does the prosecution consent to calling the witness to the stand? It does, Your Honor. However, I would like a little time to talk with the witness before we do. Very well. We will break for a 20-minute recess. To be continued.
September 23rd. District Court. Defendant Lobby number 3. Now we'll have to face Pierce on the stand. I'm not sure if I should be surprised or not. One thing's for sure, he won't be an easy adversary. So, do you think Pierce did it? It's too early to say anything at this point. But yes, I think he's... But I do think he's still hiding something.
Nick! Why do you put everything on Sorin Loser back there?
Looks like Lara still hasn't given up on Ellen.
This Pierce guy is a real bad guy.
The Sorin and my Ellie will live happily ever after together!
Larry, that's not the kind of thing a decent human being says. Shame on you, Lara.
Oh, boo! Me either, I don't know. I know I have to give up on my Ellie. But Nick, promise you'll make her happy. She deserves a happily ever after.
I'm sure Sorin will make her happy once all of this is said and done.
But you're always about to resume, Mr. Right?
Alright, you ready, Maya? Yep, let's go.
I'll be rooting for you, Nick.
Go away. September 23rd, District Court, Courtroom number 6.
This court is now back in session. Witness, please take the stand. Please state your name and occupation.
My name is Pierce Nutriday. I'm the Sprocket family butler. Let's get straight to the point, Mr. Nutriday. Someone tore out a page from Mr. Sprocket's notebook to manipulate his memories. And that person was you, wasn't it? That is correct. What about it? Well, that was easy. So why did you do it? Why did you tamper with Mr. Sprocket's notebook? Please allow me to explain. It pains me to do this, but I will tell you the truth. It pains you? That is correct. For my testimony will go against Master Sorin's wishes. Sorin's wishes? What is he talking about? I rushed to the visa deck, but the crime had already been committed. I saw Miss Ellen and Gloomsbury collapse, and Master Sorin writing in his notebook. Master Sorin said to me, I'll take the blame for the murder, so please take care of Ellen. But I went against his order. I tore the page out of his notebook and then hid the body. Wait a second. What Mr. Sprocket was writing in his notebook at the time? Could it be It was meant to be a confession, an admission he'd killed Gloomsbury himself?
He wrote that message to take the blame for Miss Wyatt?
That is correct. Master Sorin did hit Gloomsbury with the timekeeper to save Miss Ellen. And Mr. Sprocket was the culprit after all. However, that blow did not kill Gloomsbury.
That makes sense. Mr. Sprocket's injury wouldn't allow him to put much force into it.
Enraged, Gloomsbury tried to attack Master Sorin, who was already seriously wounded. But just in the nick of time, Miss Ellen hit Gloomsbury from behind, and finished him off, it would seem.
So the one who inflicted the fatal blow was the defendant?
Yes, that is correct. But Master Sorin tried to take all of the blame onto himself. No way. This is pretty bad, Dick.
No kidding. Pretty bad is an understatement. Well, well, Mr. Wright, it seems your decision to call for Mr. Nietzsche today has backfired. For the true culprit behind this case remains the defendant, Ellen Wyatt.
Could this get any worse? Pierce was involved in the cover-up plot, and I bet he still has something to hide. I rushed to the Vaser deck, but the crime had already been committed.
Hold it!
Wait a minute. I thought you went to the Visa deck with Mr. Sprocket. Actually, that is not true. What? What do you mean? I found this out afterward, but Master Sorin went to the Visa deck alone. He went out the escape hatch in the reception hall and went along the outside wall.
What? You can't be serious. You mean Mr. Wright's adulterated guess was actually correct? What's with the adulterated? I suppose truth really is stranger than fiction. So, Mr. Nishide, when he got to the scene, he saw Mr. Gloomsbury, Miss Wyatt, and Mr. Sprocket. Is that right?
That is exactly right. I saw Miss Ellen and Gloomsbury collapse and Master Sorin writing in his notebook.
Hold it!
So when you and your group arrived at the Visa deck, the murder had already been committed.
That is correct. Gloomsbury had already been struck. Miss Ellen had lost consciousness, probably from the shock of the incident.
And how did Mr. Sprocket appear?
He was bleeding from the stab wound he'd received from Gloomsbury. Barely conscious, he was writing something in his notebook.
So the mysterious third person Ellen saw really was Sorin then.
Master Sorin said to me, I'll take the blame for the murder, so please take care of Ellen.
Hold it!
So Mr. Sprocket wrote a note of confession in order to take the blame for Miss Wyatt?
Yes, that notebook is the only form of memory Master Sorin has. So you understand what his actions meant, I trust. What did it mean, Nick?
To Sorin, everything in that notebook is true. So Sorin tried to take the blame by altering his own memory to make himself think he did it.
No. Master Sorin truly loves Miss Ellen. It must have been love that made him do that. But I went against his order. I tore the page out of his notebook and hid the body.
Hold it!
Mr. Nishide, could you please tell this court about that in more detail?
That, you say? Which part do you mean, Mr. Wright? Could you be more specific?
Oh, alright. What part do I want to know more about? Please tell me more about the hiding of the body.
Very well. After saying you would take the blame, Master Sorin passed out. That's when I hid the body. I quickly took the lift down to the hold, where I hid Gloomsbury's still warm body in the spare Pegaboo lantern.
So it was you who hid the body, not the defendant?
To think Mr. Butts would move the lantern containing the body to the reception hall, well, I did not see that coming.
I don't blame you. Not even Larry can predict what Larry will do next. Maybe I should take another look at the lantern and evidence.
Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony?
Yes, please.
Very well. Please add that statement to your testimony, Mr. Nishide.
In the hold, I hid the still warm body in the spare Pegaboo lantern.
Hold it!
Why did you hide the body in the lantern?
As I told you yesterday, it was to make it as though the murder never happened. But thanks to Mr. Bat, things did not turn out as planned.
So holding the second wedding reception wasn't Mr. Sprocket's idea, but yours, wasn't it?
It was all for Master Sorin's sake, and Sprocket Aviation. If I am accused of a crime for trying to cover up the incident, I should accept it willingly.
He really doesn't seem to even care about himself. So, he's talking about the cover-up after the incident, huh?
Right. That's information only somebody who was actually involved could know.
So it might be a really important piece of testimony.
I think so too. I really have to tread carefully here. Okay. That was a bit of a wild guess, but sure. So, Gloomsbury was still alive, and the one who finished him off was Nichude.
Could it be? Is that what happened? If what I'm thinking is true, then maybe I can prove neither Ellen nor Sorin did the deed.
Mr. Nichude, you said the body was still warm when you hit it, correct? So then, what if Mr. Gloomsbury was still alive when you went to put his body inside the lantern?
What?
What? That's preposterous. Actually, this shows that the victim might have still been alive while inside the lantern.
I'm afraid you'll have to point out which part you're talking about, Mr. Wright.
This part here shows that the victim might have still been alive inside the lantern. Observe. As you can see, the back end of the lantern is a door, and there's blood here on the wheel handle.
Objection.
That blood stain must have gotten there when the witness put the body inside the lantern. It in no way shows that the victim drew his last breath while he was within the lantern.
But that's where you're wrong, kiddo. For you see, in putting this lantern back together, the police inadvertently placed the inside handle on the outside, and vice versa.
In other words, the wheel handles got swapped.
Oh my, so they got swapped.
Yes, they got swapped. What? But that's ridiculous. Not at all. If you compare the other male peggable lantern in the reception hall, it's quite obvious the wheel handles were attached backwards. The detective in charge of the restoration will see me in my office later.
Sorry, Emma, and good luck.
In that case, what does the blood stain on the wheel handle mean?
The bloodstain didn't get there by chance. When the victim was put inside the lantern, he was only unconscious, not dead. When he regained consciousness, he probably tried to get out of the lantern. So he grasped the inner wheel handle, and that's when the blood got on it. This proves that the victim was still alive when he was inside the lantern.
At the time, I was completely convinced Gloomsbury was dead. Had I checked more carefully, he might have survived.
Unfortunate to be sure, but not significant enough to change the trial's outcome. Again, I disagree, Mr. Edgeworth. It actually has a very significant impact on this case. The victim was struck by the defendant, then died from his injuries sometime later. There's nothing more to it. That's where you're wrong, kiddo. Let's take another look at Mr. Gloomsbury's autopsy report, shall we? Please focus on the description of his injuries. It says one contusion was found on the back of the head and one on the side. Yes, the one Mrs. Brockett gave him and the one Miss White delivered to finish him off. No, the defense would like to submit a different interpretation.
A different interpretation?
The victim was knocked unconscious by the first blow and was then put into the lantern. Then what about the lethal blow by the defendant that the witness talked about?
Yes, well, that didn't happen. After some time, when the victim regained consciousness and tried to get out of the lantern, that's when he received the second blow that finished him off.
Taking into account the fact that the victim was alive for a period after the first hit, and that he did receive a second blow to the head, it does seem entirely possible.
Yes, as long as the first blow didn't kill the victim instantly, then there's a possibility that someone other than Mr. Sprocket or Miss White delivered the fatal blow.
That's all you've got. Even if there was a time lag between the two blows, the prosecution's position doesn't change.
What? What do you mean?
It's elementary, Mr. Wright. After the reception, when the defendant was cleaning up the reception hall, the victim, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly came out of the lantern. The defendant grabbed the murder weapon, which is right there, and finished him off. That theory sounds awfully familiar. Of course it does, Your Honor, because it's exactly what I proposed at the very start. The second blow was inflicted by the defendant after all. I see. It seems a tangle of mysteries has unraveled into a single thread.
Objection!
But as long as there's a possibility that the fatal blow is delivered by a third person, then we must continue the deliberations.
Give it up, Mr. Wright, unless you have something to prove the presence of your precious third person.
Okay, Nick, just relax. You can do this. Come on now, take some deep breaths. Good idea. Deep breaths. Deep breaths. There, don't you feel better already? Mine's right. I should calm down, get my focus back, and go over everything again. And then, hopefully, I'll be able to find something to prove there was a third person. Let's see. First, why did Gloomsbury attack Ellen? Because he was tired of taking the blame for the accident? Something about that line of reasoning just doesn't feel quite right to me. No? How come? Well, if it's just a personal vendetta, he had already stabbed Sorin. So why then was he so determined to go after Ellen? You're right. This whole thing feels too premeditated for a crime of passion. But Gloomsbury didn't seem to have a personal grudge against Ellen. If Gloomsbury didn't have a personal reason to attack Ellen, then...
You've taken long enough, Mr. Wright. Now it's time for some action. What proof do we have that a third person was involved?
Alright, I'll show you. I'm not completely sure of what I'm doing yet, but it looks like I'm out of time.
This piece of evidence proves that this piece of evidence involves the involvement of a third person.
Take that!
I get it now. Now I see why this note bothered me so much when I first saw it. Looks like a note outlining the murder plot. That note was apparently written by the victim. But why would he feel the need to write instructions to himself like this? Your Honor, please take a look at this note.
This is the victim's murder plan, right?
It's definitely a murder plan, but what if Mr. Gloomsbury didn't write this note himself?
What? This is how you intend to conjure up your mysterious third party, Mr. Wright? Can you even prove that note wasn't written by the victim?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Very well then. Please present your evidence, Mr. Wright.
This evidence proves the victim didn't write the note.
Take that!
This is the weapon Mr. Gloomsbury used to stab Mr. Sprocket.
I was wondering what you pulled out this time. There I asked what that could possibly have to do with the note.
Mr. Gloomsbury's prints were found on this candelabra, and the prints were from his left hand.
So, that makes the victim left-handed, correct?
Exactly, Your Honor. The police looked into it too and confirmed as much. Now, take a look at the smudged writing in this note. Notice how the smudging only starts from the middle of each preceding line? Had this been written by a lefty, the writing would be smudged from the far left end. This means that whoever wrote this note was definitely right-handed. In other words, somebody other than the victim wrote this note.
What? If someone other than Mr. Gloomsbury wrote it, then what does this note mean?
Mr. Gloomsbury followed this note to the letter when he attacked Miss White. So clearly, this note isn't a murder plan written by Mr. Gloomsbury, but rather, these are instructions to kill Miss White issued by someone else.
Objection!
If it wasn't the victim who wrote these so-called instructions, Then who wrote it? Most of the people involved are right-handed, you know.
He is correct. The majority of the family and the employees who own the airship are indeed right-handed. I must say, that is a very rough and slipshod conjecture you've proposed.
I admit I haven't figured out who wrote it just yet. Leave it absurd for it to go for the juggler. This culprit ordered Gloomsbury to attack Ellen. What could their motive have been?
It doesn't seem very likely Ellen did anything to incur anybody's wrath, right?
Right.
Not too likely, anyway. In that case, it has to be about Sorin. If somebody were to hold a grudge against Sorin, what would it be about?
That accident, I'd guess. I can understand if Gloomsbury felt resentful about having to take the blame, but the one who lost the most to that accident was Sorin's sister. She lost her life, after all. Sorin suffered too, of course. He was crushed by losing somebody so precious to him. Somebody's precious, huh? Sorin's sister. Wait, there's one more person. There's someone else who must hold a grudge against Sorin.
Did you figure out something?
I think so. I think this somebody else used Gloomsbury to try and get revenge against Sorin.
Did you say somebody tried to get revenge against Mr. Spock and Mr. Wright?
The person who manipulated and used Mr. Gloomsbury was... the person who used Mr. Gloomsbury to try and get revenge on Mr. Sprocket and then finished Mr. Gloomsbury off to silence him was a man dear to Mr. Sprocket's older sister, Selena Sprocket's fiancé. Not that I'm positive, but it's certainly possible. This fiancé could have made Gloomsbury attack Ellen to get his revenge on Sorin. I just saw something in Selena's photo that confirms my theory. What?
Your fiancé? Order the court! Order, I say! Yes, it does seem quite believable that Miss Selena Sprocket's fiancé would bear a grudge against Mr. Sprocket for his role in the accident. Accident?
Exactly, Your Honor. Maybe her fiancé was trying to murder Miss White in order to make Mr. Sprocket experience the same pain he'd felt.
Objection!
Miss Sprocket's fiancé was a surgeon, if memory serves, but the only people who attended the reception were family and staff members. That may be, but then that just means that Miss Sprocket's fiancé must have been among those who attended.
What? Really?
Of course. Otherwise, how could he have killed Mr. Gloomsbury? Oh, I see what you're doing. This is just another giant bluff, isn't it? All right, Hellbite. Who exactly do you claim this fiancé to be?
Yes, I would like to know as well.
Are you sure you're going to be okay, Nick? Maybe. When it comes to suspicious people, there's only one person on my list. I need to find something that connects him to Selena.
This will help us identify Miss Sprocket's fiancé.
Take that!
Please take a look at this photo, Your Honor.
That photo?
Notice Miss Sprocket's pocket watch? Haven't we seen it somewhere before?
Yes, now that you mention it, I do feel as I've seen it somewhere before.
I believe we've all seen it. Right here in this very courtroom.
Impossible!
That's right. The pocket watch in this photo is the same pocket watch Mr. Nietzsche has on him right now.
What?
This is clear proof of a strong connection between Pierce Nietzsche and Selena Sprocket.
No. Well, Mr. Nietzsche, is this true?
Mr. Nietzsche, you were once engaged to Selena Sprocket. That pocket watch, you keep it as a memento of her, don't you? Mr. Nietzsche, you plan to rob Mr. Sprocket of his loved one, to make him feel the same pain as you, isn't that right? But Mr. Sprocket managed to fight back and knocked Mr. Gloomsbury unconscious. You thought Mr. Gloomsbury was dead and hid his body in the lantern. But then you noticed Mr. Gloomsbury regained consciousness.
And so you finished him off to prevent your plan from being exposed. This is the defense's take on what really happened in this murder case.
Mr. Wright, does this mean you wish to officially accuse this witness of the murder of Tomas Gloomsbury?
Does the defense accuse Mr. Nichide of the murder? Nah. Oh, good. Wait, if I back down now, it's all over. I have to take the plunge and chase this down to the very end. The defense indicts Pierce Nichide on the charge of murdering Tomas Gloomsbury.
Oh my! Mr. Nichide, would you care to respond?
Man, this lawyer just yaps on and on and on. As you guessed, this watch is a memento of Selena. It stopped working at the time of the accident, though. Then, you really are... Yeah, I was Selena's fiancé. Not just her fiancé, but the sergeant beside her deathbed.
Objection!
Mr. Nichide, why didn't you tell me any of this before?
Shut up, you useless prosecutor. I thought you could be of use, but apparently this case was too much for you.
What did you say?
If your office hadn't stuck his nose up all in this, I could have swept under the rug. Not only did you interfere with the case, but you even let me fall under suspicion.
That's because you kept trying to cover things up on this lie.
But covering things up wasn't your only involvement. The only person who had a motive to use the victim to try to kill Miss White was you!
Malignant. Malignant tumors. There are malignant tumors in this courtroom. Lesions oozing with false charges.
The tumors are one idiotic lawyer and one useless prosecutor. After the truth is revealed, I'll have both of you incised from the legal world.
Huh. I'd like to see you try.
With the power of the Sprocket family, it'd be a cinch. I will now begin the operation. What in the world happened to Mr. Nichide? Looks like he's finally showing his true colors. Nick, look at what he did to that shoulder, Mac. Quit your yapping before I suture your chatty lips shut. It's like he's a completely different person. Sure looks like it, huh? We can't let our guards down now. Mr. Nichide, it's finally time for you to testify to the truth.
It seems we're entering the final act at last. Witness, your testimony, please.
Mr. Nichide, why didn't you say anything?
He just took a picture of me, or something.
You want me to voluntarily testify, hoping I will make a slip of the tongue. Not a very impressive plan, or brain, I might add.
Hell, that was uncalled for.
If you want to know something, you ask the question. I will answer, but I have no intention of making any voluntary statements of my own. What's he trying to do, Nick? He's using the silent treatment as a strategy to avoid getting tripped up. Clever guy.
No more lies, Mr. Nichide. You will tell us nothing but the truth from now on. What do you think you're doing?
No one asked you to speak. Just keep quiet over there and play with your frills.
How dare you? Well, this is a rather unconventional situation, but please proceed, Mr. Wright.
Yes, Your Honor. Proceed with what? Okay. So, do I choose what to ask, or?
Hold it!
If he won't speak voluntarily, then I guess I'll have to ask him something. What question should I ask? On the day of the incident, you were constantly surrounded by your subordinates. Is that right? Absolutely. I was in someone's line of sight at all times. After all, I was busy taking care of every detail of the event. Mr. Edgeworth, I believe your investigation backs up my claim.
Huh. I got statements that said groups of his subordinates worked with him in rotation. So he was always with someone.
As the prosecutor just said, I couldn't even get close to the lantern containing Gloomsbury by myself, let alone kill him.
Curious didn't have a chance to get close to the victim alone, huh?
Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to have that statement added to his testimony.
Very well.
I was always in the company of others. I didn't have an opportunity to murder Gloomsbury.
Hold it!
So, you were always in someone's line of sight. I was surrounded by family members and staff as we prepared for the reception. During the reception, I was stationed behind the sweetheart table to attend to the couple. When could I have possibly committed murder?
I'm not buying it. It appears as the true killer. That there must have been some time when he was out of everyone's sight.
What do you think, Nick? Is there a chance for us here?
Well, as long as we have some kind of testimony from him, there has to be. I'll just have to compare his testimony against the evidence and
find an inconsistency, right?
Exactly. This is it. I have to do this right.
Hold it!
If you won't speak voluntarily, isn't it true that when Mr. Gloomsbury regained consciousness inside the lantern, you murdered him in order to silence him?
He was an excellent employee and very loyal to me. Gloomsbury was my right-hand man. I'd suffer the most from losing him. You really think I'd kill a guy like that?
That would make sense only if you were innocent. But since your goal is revenge, you don't really have to care about something like that.
But I am innocent, I tell you. Don't try to force your conjectures onto me.
I guess without decisive evidence, I can't pursue this line of questioning any further.
Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony?
Yes, please, Your Honor. Every little bit I can drag out of him helps, right?
Gloomsbury was my right-hand man. I'd suffer the most from losing him.
Hold it!
What did Mr. Gloomsbury think of Mr. Sprocket? After all, he was forced to take the blame for the accident. He must have been resentful.
He got his position as a lead servant in exchange for taking the blame. Wasn't exactly a bad deal for him.
But he must have felt some sort of indignation.
Who knows? Now that he's dead, we'll never know for sure. It's pointless to talk about it any further.
Alright. Dead men tell no tales, after all.
Hold it!
If he won't speak voluntarily, then I guess I'll have to ask him something. What question should I ask? You've been nursing a grudge against Mr. Sprocket over the loss of your fiancée. Isn't that right?
I'd be lying if I said I felt no resentment whatsoever. Master Sorin didn't cause that accident on purpose. Master Sorin himself has suffered greatly.
But you quit being a surgeon and found a way to get even closer to Mr. Sprocket. Wasn't that so you could carry out your revenge on him?
Don't insult me. Supporting Master Sorin and Sprocket Aviation with my life's work is my penance for not being able to save Selena. This is how I honor her.
I feel your devotion as both a fiancé and a surgeon. Your statement breaks my heart.
I've never thought of exacting revenge on Master Sorin.
Never thought of it, huh? I guess I should probably take that with a pound of salt.
Mr. Wright, would you like that statement added to the witness's testimony?
Yes, please, Your Honor. I have to find an opening somehow.
I've never thought of exacting revenge on Master Sorin.
Hold it!
So, you have had no thoughts of vengeance toward Mr. Sprocket whatsoever?
Of course not! Selena wouldn't have wanted that. I've thrown my own life away and lived solely for the sake of this rocket family. That's how I show my love for her.
Alrighty then. Well, one thing's for sure. Pierce gets really emotional when it comes to Selena.
No kidding. I'm not sure how he feels about Sorin, but his love for Selena is pretty obvious. Let me try... Oh, we don't have Larry's photo anymore? Of the second reception? I guess not. Okay. Sorin had been writing nothing but ideas for inventions in this until March 8th of last year, when he abruptly began to chronicle the events of each day in excruciating detail. However, details of the day of the murder had been rendered illegible by a bloodstain. One of the pages in Sorin's notebook was torn out in an uncharacteristically rough way. On it was written the words, "I struck and killed Dumas." Key of Love. Newspaper article. Vehicular accident on March 8th led to the death of Sorin's older sister. Sorin was also in the car and suffered severe injuries. It was publicly announced that the driver had been Gloomsbury, but in fact Sorin was the one behind the wheel. Bloodstain found left, candelabra, hold entry record, autopsy report, caused by the same weapon. Victim's body was found collapsed inside one of the peggable lanterns. Scattered around his body were flower petals, a note, and broken parts of the lantern. The petals were from flowers not found inside the reception hall. Let's try this.
Objection!
Okay. Your Honor, I have a feeling this piece of evidence contradicts the witness's statement.
A feeling, defense?
Yes, Your Honor, or rather, a hope that it indicates a contradiction.
Mr. Wright, is there or isn't there a contradiction here?
It looks like there is, but there really isn't one, is there?
Are you asking me, Mr. Wright? Because what it really seems like to me is you're asking for a penalty.
Thanks for that definitive answer, Your Honor.
Sigh. With a lawyer like you, Mr. Wright, even I feel bad for the defendant.
Well, you don't have to feel bad for her for long. I'll get her right next time, you'll see. Okay. Maybe we should press on the statements again? Or... What do you think, Nick? Is there a chance for us here? Well, as long as we have some kind of testimony from him, there has to be. I'll just have to compare his testimony against the evidence and find inconsistency, right? Exactly. This is it. I have to do this right.
Hold it! Hold it! Hold it!
Okay, let's look at all of the evidence again. Turner's badge, Ellen's pendant, worn by Ellen, seems she received it from her fiancé. Ellen was attacked by Gloomsbury on the Visa deck. She saw in her dazed state a shadowy figure hit Gloomsbury from behind. She fainted immediately afterwards and thus didn't get a good look at who it was. Diagrams. Timekeeper, clock the secret mechanism, broken lantern, note, photo of the victim, much of it is obscured by thick fog. What could the answer be? Autopsy report. Contusion found in the back of the head, one by the side. Caused by the same weapon. Hold entry record. Candelabra. Key of love. Newspaper article. Okay, this is a bit of a stretch, but hear me out.
Objection!
Okay. I thought as much. Alright. Let's travel back through time again. Try again. What else do we have? Statement, the broken lantern. The notes. Maybe present the notes on another statement, maybe? Hold on. Okay, maybe...
Objection!
No. Okay. Hold on. Go back. Control Z. Let's see. Present it here.
Objection!
No? Okay. Well, that didn't work. Well, we tried presenting this piece of evidence to all statements, so I don't think this is it. I don't think this is the chink in the armor. Photo of the victim. Fog machine. The fact that there's heavy fog everywhere?
Objection!
Really? Come on. That's lame. Mr. Nichide testifies that he was always with someone at the time of the incident, and never had a moment alone to commit the crime.
Yes, so the police investigation backs our statement up, doesn't it?
But there was an opportunity, in fact. One and only one. A moment where Mr. Nichide could have killed Mr. Gloomsbury without anyone noticing.
What?
And the one thing that made that moment possible is shown here in this photograph.
With all those people watching, I couldn't possibly commit a murder. Do not believe him, Your Honor. This lawyer is a malignant tumor. He wants to infect its judicial body with virulent accusations.
Mr. Nichide, I will ask that you keep quiet this time. We need to evaluate the defense's claim, and your yammering only serves to throw further suspicion your way. Mr. Wright, let's see this one thing you mentioned. But be warned, this had better not be one of your offhanded claims. Who do you think you're talking to, Mr. Edgeworth?
Very well, Mr. Wright. Please point out for us the one thing that made the moment of the murder possible.
That one moment when it was possible for Mr. Nichide to kill Mr. Gloomsbury. The one thing that made this single moment possible is this. The one thing that made the moment of the murder possible is this thick mood fog that engulfed the entire reception hall. It is under the cover of this fog that Mr. Nichide murdered the victim. Give me a break. You'd have to fill the entire room to the brim with fog. Come on, no one saw that?
What?
Mr. Nichide was standing right next to the lantern that Mr. Gloomsbury was in. This was the only moment the murder could have been committed without being seen. I'm not going to accept that there was a moment when the witness was obscured from others by fog. But that doesn't prove Mr. Nichide killed the victim at that very moment. If you can't prove the crime was committed during the reception, the trial ends here. I'm so caught up in finding a foothold that I forgot to think that far ahead.
Well done, Mr. Edgeworth. It's time to call this trial's time of death.
Well, Mr. Wright, can you prove the murder happened during the reception?
Don't even bother. His claim is dead on arrival. Victory is within your grasp, prosecutor.
Quiet, witness. I have no interest in victory. All I care about is the truth. One that we can only arrive at through further deliberation. Edgeworth.
Enough of this! Your Honor, this trial is over!
No, Mr. Nichide, that is for me to decide. Mr. Wright, can you prove it? Can you prove that the murder was committed during the wedding reception?
Why is there no verdict yet? The lawyer's obviously out of answers. The prosecutor, the judge, they're all infected. Their maniacal stupidity is so advanced, not even the best surgeons can save them. In fact, not even a brain transplant could cure them. This court is infected with idiocy. It's a pandemic!
Mr. Nichide, that's enough already.
Finally ready to give up, are you?
No, just the opposite, actually. I'll prove the murder was committed during the reception. By you!
You'll prove it.
Can you really, Mr. Wright?
Yes, I can, Your Honor. To be honest, I don't know exactly how I'll do it just yet, but if I want to get to the truth Edgeworth was talking about, I'll just have to find that way.
Very well, Mr. Wright. Let's have your proof.
Enough of this foolishness. He's just bluffing. Stop him from speaking, Your Honor.
I will do nothing of the sort.
You are just a district court judge. With the power of the Sprocket family,
Enough of your foolishness, Mr. Nichide. This judicial body would not succumb to the influence of money or power.
Now then, let's hear it, Mr. Wright. Let's hear your truth.
Think, Phoenix. Remember everything you've learned so far. You can do this. You can find the definitive evidence that will lead us to the truth. Think, Phoenix. How can I prove the murder took place during the wedding reception? If Pierce committed the murder during the reception, then he had to have used Yes, the weapon, though, was used to strike the victim twice. According to the autopsy report, the victim was hit by the same object both times, so without a doubt, Pierce used it to commit the murder. The weapon used to kill Gloomsbury was... If Pierce struck the victim during that one single moment, then he must have used the timekeeper. Come to think of it, wasn't it also used for something else during the reception? During the reception, the timekeeper was also used for... That's right. The timekeeper had been activated during the reception. If we activate the timekeeper again now and find any trace evidence of the murder, that will be conclusive proof that Gloomsbury was killed during the reception.
Ah, okay. A special ceremony took place during the reception in question.
What kind of a special ceremony?
It was called the first startup of love. Apparently, the couple activated the timekeeper for the first time during it. Does that mean the timekeeper here in evidence isn't activated at the moment? What would happen if we were to activate it?
Why don't we see for ourselves? It would give us a chance to examine it. And while we're at it, we just might find some conclusive evidence.
What?
No! You can't activate it!
Mr. Nichide, keep quiet. I'll have you thrown out of court. By the way, Mr. Wright, this is supposed to be a time machine, right? We aren't going to travel back in time to the Stone Age or anything, are we?
I don't think we have to worry too much about that, Your Honor.
I'm still a little nervous, nonetheless. But the truth must be known. Very well. Go ahead and start up the timekeeper.
Do you know how, Nick? I think so. Maybe. The bride and groom each had a symbol of their love, and when they put them together, oh, how romantic it was. Let's see. I think the symbol of the groom's love must be the timekeeper itself. What symbol of the bride's love would fit together with the timekeeper? Oh, I know. That has to be it.
Mr. Wright, are you ready to activate the time machine now?
Yes, Your Honor. The symbol of the bride's love that's necessary for activating the timekeeper is... Once we set this in place, we can activate the timekeeper.
Set it in place where? It doesn't look like it fits anywhere.
You don't think so? Not even if we kind of jammed it in?
Mr. Wright, you know what's coming, don't you?
A penalty, Your Honor?
I'm glad you understand. That will save us some time.
Alright, I better take another good look at what I've got to work with. The symbol of the bride's love that's necessary for activating the timekeeper is...
Take that!
Once we set this in place, we can activate the timekeeper.
Set it in place where? That doesn't look like it fits anywhere.
You don't think so? Not even if we kind of jammed it in?
Mr. Wright, you know what's coming, don't you?
Uh-oh. What? That's wrong, too? Wait, hold on. Hold on. Peace. Peace, Your Honor. I thought... I thought the key was... Okay. Key of love? No? Okay. I guess it was the other thing. Okay. I guess I got a little too carried away. This is fun. I thought I'd have some liberties to goof around a bit, but fuck that up. I love how you can lose this trial if you don't know how to activate the clock. It's not like you can get outside help or anything. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, I'm back. It's time to nip this case in the bud. Here we go.
Take that!
Miss White's pendant is a symbol of the bride's love that's necessary for activating the timekeeper.
What? Does that mean you can start it up with Miss White's pendant?
I believe so, Your Honor.
Very well. Please try it now, Mr. Wright.
Okay, here I go. But first, I have to figure out where the pendant goes. The outer casing is made of metal. I sure wouldn't want to get hit with something like this. Okay, thanks for that. It's a propeller. It's designed to look like the hands of a clock. I don't think it has anything to do with activating the timekeeper, though. Oh. This hole looks like a good spot. I'll try setting the pendant in here. It fits! This must be the right spot. Now I have to find a place to insert the key. don't know, in the back somewhere? This hole in the middle of the pendant. Could this be it? Oh, okay. It worked! The timekeeper has been activated! Now all I have to do is find proof that the crime was committed during the reception. I wonder where that could be. I think I found it. Conclusive evidence that the murder was committed during the wedding reception. Just as I suspected, there's evidence of the murder inside the timekeeper, Mr. Nichiday. The timekeeper was only activated and opened during the wedding reception, right?
No! Stop!
So, that means this is conclusive proof that the crime was committed during the reception. After you killed the victim under the cover of fog, you closed the timekeeper to hide the bloodstain, didn't you?
No, you're wrong! Ellen killed Gloomsbury! It wasn't me, I tell you!
He gave it up, Mr. Nichiday. How could the defendant, who was in the middle of pledging her love, have possibly committed the murder with everyone watching her?
It was the family! Yes, all the family members conspired together to kill him!
There's no way you can talk your way out of this, Mr. Nichiday. During the reception, during that one dreamlike moment, only one person could have used the timekeeper to beat the victim to death. And that one person was you, Pierce Nichiday.
No, this isn't over yet. I won't give up. No, I cut the artery. This stupid thing. We must stop the bleeding now. Give me forceps. Forceps, I said. Hey, where's everyone? Fine, I'll manage this alone. I'll do it all by myself. I can fix anything, repair anything. So you have to get better. You have to live. You must. I would have been able to save her. Only I had to listen to her. Only I had treated her first. If only that Sart had been there. Selena, no.
Oh, witness? Are you finally ready to tell us the truth?
It's just as the lawyer deduced. So his own revenge scheme against Sorin Sprocket. Do you have any idea how hard it is to lose someone you love, right in front of you? Selena's condition was clearly more critical than Sorin's, but in spite of that, she said, "Please, help Sorin." Miss Sprocket's last words. So that's what she really meant by those words. I was able to grant her wish, but at the price of her life. So you got a job with Sprocket Aviation and waited for your chance to get revenge. You got close to Mr. Gloomsbury and hashed his plot. Is that right? Gloomsbury already bore a grudge against Sorin. So when I tempted him with an even better position, he immediately took the bait.
He was your accomplice, someone who shared the same goal as you. Why was it necessary for you to kill him?
I didn't expect Sorin to strike Gloomsbury out on the visa deck. And I certainly never imagined he'd make his way there along the outside wall. Sorin's love is the real deal after all. My plan had been compromised, so for the time being, I hid his body in the lantern and tried to think of my next move.
And then Mr. Gloomsbury came too during the second wedding reception.
As soon as I saw Gloomsbury, I instantly hit upon an idea. To pin the blame of Gloomsbury's murder on Ellen.
You try to break up the couple by making the bride out to be a murderer. How despicable.
Sorin was getting the company in a wedding. Both things that were supposed to be Selena's. He took every happiness from her. Who's the despicable one here?
Do you think what you did would make her happy?
I know it wouldn't. But I couldn't just stand by, watching Sorin enjoy his happiness. I was gonna have Sorin taste the same pain I had, and then take over Sprocket Aviation. I would take back from him all of the happiness that was rightfully Selena's. Time stopped for me that day I lost her. Just like this pocket watch of hers.
Pierce. Miss White? I believe Selena would have said, leave this ill will behind. Your time is your slave.
It's too late for me. Time will never advance for me ever again. What? It can't be. I see now, Selena. What I did was wrong.
Now I see no further need to continue this trial. Bailiff, please take Mr. Nichiday away.
Here's Nichiday, another inconsolable time traveler, who lived in time that stood still.
Now then, I must render my verdict regarding the defendant.
Your Honor, before you give your ruling, would you please allow me a moment?
Very well.
Ellen, there's something I need to say to you. Yes, Sorin? I put you through something truly horrible. This whole thing happened all because of me. I would understand if you wanted to call off our marriage. What? Of course not. I've never once thought that. If you stay with me, you'll only face even more trying times in the future. What do you mean? The truth of this incident and the car accident before it. I'm going to tell the public everything. I expect the company's reputation will suffer, and I'll take a lot of criticism. But I feel I can only really start over once I get everything out in the open. Sorry. After all that's happened, I might not have the right to ask you this, but, well, how should I say this? Maybe I'll just... A life with me probably won't be very easy, but... Will you marry me? Yes, of course. Your Honor, thank you for this time. Please continue with your ruling.
Very well, but first, I have one question. Do the two of you pledge your eternal love for each other to the goddess of justice, Themis?
I do, Your Honor. I do.
Does the prosecution or the defense have any objections? Well done, Your Honor. No objections here.
The defense has no objections either, Your Honor.
This court finds the defendant, Ellen White. That's not right. This court finds the defendant, Ellen Sprocket, not guilty. This court is adjourned.
September 23rd, 11:36 a.m. District Court. Defendant lobby number 3. Alan, Sorin, congratulations.
Mr. Wright, I can't thank you enough. If you hadn't exposed the truth, Sorin and I wouldn't... we wouldn't... Sniffle.
But now you can finally start your new life together, right?
Oh, thank you!
Mr. Wright, we'll be holding our real wedding ceremony in the near future. Would you do us the honor of coming to it? I want you to witness our fair start. Of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world. And Ellen, this time, it'll finally be happily ever after, right?
Oh, yes.
Two of you have persevered and overcome this trial together. Now, no matter what obstacles come your way, I'm sure you'll be able to handle them. And there's another thing I'm sure of too. This person will always be watching over the two of you.
Selena, yes, I think you're right. And we promise to live life to the fullest, for Selena's sake too. Right, Sorin?
That's right. Well, we better be on our way.
Yes, my love.
Wow, the old threshold carrier. Way to show off. We'll be seeing you. Goodbye for now. I'll be looking forward to that wedding. Hold on tight, Aiden.
You better believe I will. I'll never let you go.
There they go.
You're not thinking of going to that wedding by yourself, are you, boss? You're taking us too, right? Oh boy, I bet there's gonna be all kinds of fancy food there.
Tina, when'd you get here? Just now. I would have been here to cheer you guys on earlier, but
Trucy never gave me a chance to slip away.
you're gonna be in even bigger trouble with her later. Speaking of the wedding, maybe I should ask them to invite Edgeworth.
Mr. Edgeworth? Really? They thought Ellen was guilty all the way to the end.
That may be true, but
Don't even bother. His claim is dead on arrival. Victor is in with your grass, prosecutor.
quiet, witness. I have no interest in victory. All I care about is the truth. One that we can only arrive at through further deliberation. If he hadn't stood up for us when he did, the trial probably would have ended there.
You mean Mr. Edgeworth gave us that chance? Maybe.
Though knowing him, I doubt he'd ever tell, even if I asked.
Well, if that's how you feel about it, Nick, then why not try to get him invited?
Hey, Maya, have you ever tried to catch the bouquet?
What? No.
I never have either. Fighting over a bouquet that's been tossed by the bride. Talk about a fierce competition. I'm totally stoked.
I'm not sure it's really supposed to be all that competitive.
I'm a pretty good jumper, so I think I've got a chance. She's definitely missing the point of the whole thing. Larry, how did you manage to stay so quiet for so long?
Shut up!
Wish you the lady you fell in love with ever happened. This is what a real man does.
Pretty sure that relationship was over before it even began, Larry.
Sniffle. Darn it all. If only I was 10 years younger, things would have gone differently. Hands of time, why won't you turn back for me?
September 30th, 9:20 a.m. Sprocket Park Mooring Dock. Today is Ellen and Soren's third wedding ceremony and reception. I heard the bride and groom insisted it be on the Flying Chapel again. In the end, they were nice enough to invite me and Maya, and Athena kind of invited herself. They also invited Edgeworth, Emma, and even Larry. They say a third time's a charm, right? I really do hope it's happily ever after for them this time around. Still, I get the feeling it's going to be one rowdy party.
Ready when you are. Okay, here we go! Huh?
Oh, hey! Look who's next! Huh?
Get back! Haven't you ever heard of Lady Spruce?
I'm truly blessed to have you.
The end.